Is cereal a soup? What's your reasoning?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Yeah.
But it is in a bowl and it's in liquid.
I think soup has to be made and you're just putting cereal on top of the milk. Like, I know there's, was it gazpacho is cold soup? Like, all my soups are usually hot. So that's one reason. But I know there is cold soups. But just putting some dry cereal on top of milk isn't really making soup. Like, I'm in my soup era. You've seen me at home.
That's
I've made
why
a lot of soups.
That's why I asked you this question. Like, this is hard.
I'm a connoisseur now. No, I don't think it's soup.
Would you say that hot dogs are a sandwich?
I don't like that one. I don't think they're a sandwich.
I don't think so either. I was like getting really into this. I was looking this up yesterday for you, the cereal thing. And people were like, no, it's not, because cereal without milk is still cereal.
Yeah.
But beef without broth is like, it's beef. It's not soup.
I like that too, yeah.
So I was like, I guess that makes sense.
So I was right.
You were right.
That's
I
right.
mean, philosophically.
We're always right.
Goalies, welcome to the Talk Goalie to Me podcast, where we spill all the behind the mask tea with goalies, talk gear that actually works, and hear the crazy stories only goalies can tell. Big shout out to General Sports, where you can get your pads, mask, and everything in between totally dialed in. All right, let's kick things off. Today's guest is Quinn Kuntz. Quinn played high school in Warroad, Minnesota, or Hockeytown, USA, as some call it, where hockey isn't just a sport. She developed in one of the most community-based hockey environments in the country and played in Minnesota State High School League state tournaments before taking her game to the Division I level. After high school, she played 6 years of college hockey, where she won not 1, not 2, but 3 national championships along the way. 5 years at Ohio State and 1 year at Wisconsin, Quinn's journey reflects resilience, growth, and an unwavering commitment to the position. She now lives in Minnesota and continues to coach multiple high school teams and lives with the best roomie ever, me. Now let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Quinn Kuntz. I'm so excited to welcome Quinn to the pod today. Quinn is actually my roommate, so we know each other really well, but we'll try to stay on track. Yes. And Quinn, you played high school in Warroad.
Yes.
But you didn't grow up there. How did your hockey journey start?
Yeah, growing up, I actually grew up in Grand Forks, North Dakota, so always went to the Ralph and like Sioux games and just loved being in that hockey town. And as I got older and realized my dream of like wanting to play Division I hockey, it became very real. Kind of around when I was in middle school, I started really taking hockey seriously. It was always my favorite sport, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna play boys hockey because I want, a little faster paced shots at that age, and then just kind of doing everything I could to set myself up for that dream. So once I got to high school, just high school girls hockey in North Dakota, we weren't getting a lot of scouts at our games. It was tough. There was some film, but it was kind of before, TikTok and YouTube, and like you could put some short clips on YouTube and send them to coaches, but just really getting in front of coaches I thought was important. So I decided to move out east and play AAA prep hockey, and then just kind of ended up in a tough situation out there and decided to move home after about 3 months. And my coach ended up getting fired a week after I decided to move home. So, maybe I could have stuck it out, but I obviously didn't know that was coming either. So, I couldn't play in North Dakota anymore my junior year. So looked into moving to Minnesota. So my whole family, we all moved to Warroad, Minnesota, and finished out my junior year there, and went to the state championship and just kind of fell in love with Hockeytown, USA.
You said that your whole family moved there with you. You have a big family,
yes,
as I know. What do your parents do for a living?
My dad is an architect, so have always just loved like watching what he does, and he thankfully works in a lot of like sporting events and the scoreboards all over. So it's really cool for me to see what he does, and he travels a lot for that. And then my mom, she is kind of a jack of all trades. Obviously, she has 6 kids, so she supports us at home too. And then she has a lot of rental homes, and I've helped her in many different houses, fixing up, painting, staining cabinets, everything like that. So definitely a handy woman now. I've been doing that since I was like 13. So it's been cool to see her like flip the houses and really make her vision come to life in them, and kind of help her be a part of that, which is cool. So yeah, at the time, my 2 oldest siblings were in college. So I had 3 younger brothers, so family of 6. So they followed us. We all went to Warroad together, and I always tell them I'll definitely owe them like a beer someday when they're older for doing that for me, and kind of making my dreams happen. So definitely very thankful for my family and their sacrifice.
Your family has been super involved, but just knowing you and knowing like how independent you are as well, it's just like it's so cool to see that you came from such a big family, and your dad, he helped build the Ralph.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So I'm sure like growing up there in North Dakota and just being a part of that as well, like how did that play into your hockey career?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was always a dream of mine to go to UND and, play for the Fighting Sioux, play in the Ralph. I always say 2001 is the best year of my dad's life because I was born and that's the year he finished the Ralph. We can agree to disagree, but I think he would agree. We'll have to ask him. But yeah, just like it's such a beautiful rink. And obviously growing up there, it was funny because that's more what I was used to. I was like, oh, all college rinks are this nice. No. Which we can get into a little later. But yeah, I just always like had a dream to play in the Ralph. And I kind of remember where I was when I heard that UND cut their women's program. It's not anything as drastic as like, when you hear about 9/11, like a lot of people remember exactly where they were, or, when Kobe died or stuff like that. But I just remember very specifically because, like it was a dream of mine to go there. So, yeah, when that kind of came out, it was kind of like a really sad or disappointing message. And like that was, my hometown for so long. But I think it obviously, was kind of a hidden blessing. So, I ended up going to 2 great schools out of it and really getting an experience further away from home, which I'm really thankful for.
Yeah, I agree. I think for women's hockey too, especially, I grew up, I was a Northern girl too, so when they did cut their program, it was devastating.
Yeah.
And I think as a whole, it was just devastating for women's hockey because you're like, we're losing such a big program that, is just like a backbone of like that conference too at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't a bad team or anything. Like they had a good team, and it was just like, oh my gosh, women's hockey's treading the wrong direction.
Yeah.
We're losing programs, and I think seeing now with the PWHL growing and just hockey growing as a whole, like, thank God. But I get what you mean by saying, like, you knew where you were because it was just sad. And especially sad for, like, Northern girls, too, because it was like, oh, my gosh, you're kidding. Like, that was a place that took a lot of those girls.
Yeah.
And, like, gave them a home. So it was like, oh, my goodness. Like,
it's crazy that only one team is in that, like, beautiful rink and state-of-the-art facility. I think the soccer team has the locker room in there now. But yeah, I always grew up, idolizing the Lamoureux twins, just right in Grand Forks. And they even came back and committed to North Dakota and, finished out their college careers there. So I always had them very present and would go to the camps and work out with them and stuff. So, yeah, it was definitely a huge bummer. And they've tried to reboot it a few times. So hopefully in the future that could happen again, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And obviously you grew up watching that program, like a storied program, the men's side especially. Mm-hmm. And then you went on to play at Warroad, which is such a storied program, and you went to state tournament. How was that, like, transition?
Yeah, I think, like, a lot of people hear about Warroad and they're like, oh, it's only one stoplight. And I'm like, Well, I think there's about 2 or 3, but yeah, like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really fell in love with it. Every Sunday, all of us would get together and skate, even with, the boys' high school team. So hockey is definitely, like, central way of life there. But, like, I would have people come up to me after games, and they're like, you played amazing. Like, I introduced themselves, and I was just, a high school girl, and it obviously means so much to the community there. So I think it's awesome. And then Izzy Marvin, my head coach there, I owe him a lot. He really helped me with my recruiting process, and we're still very close friends. I text him every once in a while, and he really wants to take me ice fishing. I've never been ice fishing.
You need to go, especially now that you're a Minnesota girl.
I am a Minnesota girl now, kind of, yeah. So he took me, and we got our first walleye and skinned them and cooked them right there. That was my first experience. I've never been hunting either, so I really got to get the outdoorsy feel for it. But yeah, he's become more of a friend now that obviously I'm not there anymore, but I'd love to go back up there and visit for sure.
Yeah, I think that's so special, and that says a lot about Northern hockey in Minnesota too. Like, the community that surrounds it is what is most important and what makes Northern hockey so great.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, kind of being lost in some areas of, like, Minnesota hockey. So, like, that's sad. I could go on and on about that, obviously.
Yes, we could do a whole nother episode of that.
But to change the subject a little bit, I wanted to talk to you about gear. Mm-hmm. And just give me the rundown, kind of like what brands you wore, what worked for you.
Yeah, so I had been a Bauer girl my whole life, like even before like middle school to high school to college. I was pretty much all Bauer until my very last year. I made the switch to True. And like Bauer, I always loved the way I could, design pads are super light. I liked really hard, fast rebounds. I did not want them just dropping into the slot. Like, I really liked a fast pad. So I really loved Bauer. I think I figured out my pads were too big for me most of my college career, looking back. So I didn't really have anyone to help me. Like, maybe I should have gone into a store and done some more research. But yeah, I think I really loved Bauer. I love their sticks. And then, when I went to Wisconsin, decided to go with True. They kind of reached out to me, and I ended up really loving them. I designed, like a very simple pad for me. I was kind of always known for crazy designs or trying to match jerseys and stuff. So just kind of kept it simple for my last year and really, really enjoyed my True set and still use it today. So
a lot of people are transitioning to True, and they really do love it. Do you have any like weird superstitions with your gear when you were playing?
Not really. I feel like the classic, I always put one side on first before the other. One year I just didn't really want to break in a new chest protector. I've always had a Vaughn chest protector, which I do love. They really embroider them and make them nice. So I like that. But other than that, gear-wise, like I'll tape my stick periodically. I'll get my skate sharpened. Sometimes before games. I do like them really sharp, though. I do like 5/8 or a half, which is kind of weird for a goalie.
That's me, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Try it out.
And then for your helmet, like you always had fun paint. Yeah. Was there something that you always put on your back plate?
Yeah, I would always try and bring in something from home. So I often would put North Dakota and Minnesota outlines just because, like, those are the states I grew up playing hockey in the most. We'd come down to the cities, we call it, in North Dakota, and come play, like, tournaments pretty much every weekend in the summer. Me and my dad would drive down. So definitely, like, spent a lot of time in both states playing hockey. And then with my 5 siblings, I always try and put, like, their initials on there. I thought it was, like, special to kind of incorporate that. It's funny, at Wisconsin, I actually got denied the state outlines, which is the first time it had happened to me. So I got a little creative, and I was like, what could I kind of pay tribute to home. It's not like North Dakota has mountains that I could put on there. I always got a little jealous when people are from mountains. Like, it looks so good. So I just put a bunch of evergreen trees. We have them at our home, and I think they're like kind of all around. So I think that was kind of my tribute to home, and then mixed in the initials of all my family members too.
That's so sweet. I just think it's so cool that you came from such a big family. I can't imagine like how much that has just like played into your, not only like your hockey career, but just your life as a whole. Yeah. And then you have your siblings play sports as well, but did they ever play hockey?
We all played hockey. So I have an older brother who played Division I football at NDSU, and he like definitely started to gravitate more towards football. My dad played football at UND, so I think, that's kind of where it comes from, and kind of seems to be a little bit of a theme with my brothers, just kind of gravitating a little more towards football. My youngest brother, I call him Trey, he's a tight end at UND right now. Just finished his sophomore season, so it's been fun to go to his games this year. But he played hockey all through high school until his senior year too. And then my little brother Cooper, he is going to be so tall. He is already taller than me, and I'm scared. Well, I just know I'm going to be the shortest in the family, which is kind of funny. But he's like 6'2" in middle school. He transitioned to basketball and loves football too. And then my youngest brother Mac, I'm hoping he's my hockey star, but he also likes football too. So. And then my sister, we also played for a little bit together, but she definitely did not enjoy it as much as I did. But yeah, I think having, like an older brother, Zach, I would play roller hockey with his friends in the driveway, but the only way I could play with them was if I was goalie. So that was kind of the stipulation. So maybe it was forced upon me. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's so cute. I feel like that's most girls' like stories, even with girl goalies. Mm-hmm. I interviewed Julia Minotti last week, and she was like, yeah, I started playing goalie because my brothers played roller hockey in the driveway. I wanted to play with them, and they would only let me play goalie. So it was like the same story, which is so cute. Yeah. Since we spoke about gear a little bit, I do have a sponsor read. I'm going to have you rate it 1 through 10 after I do it. I'm not a pro, but I have done it a few times now, so I don't know.
I'm so excited.
I don't know.
Put on your
my radio voice. My business voice. If you're a goalie, you already know finding the right gear is half the battle. That's where General Sports comes in. They've got the best goalie setup in the Midwest, pads, masks, sticks, skates, everything in between for the ones crazy enough to stand in front of 90 miles per hour slap shots. The real game changer, their Goalie Lab, where you can book a one-on-one fitting with a goalie specialist like me to make sure your setup actually fits the way you play. Doesn't matter if you're getting started or chasing championships, General Sports makes sure you're dialed in. So before you order something online that might fit, go check out General Sports, because every save starts with the right setup, and General Sports makes sure you've got it.
I would give that 100 million out of 10. It sounds like I needed to go there before college. And
you needed to go there. I needed to go there before college. I literally did not get anything dialed in until I was probably a 5th year.
Yeah, I found out you could, I got the chest protector down. I did a small with extra small arms. The arms would always be too long. You had a
little chest protector.
And then medium with extra small arms. Yeah, and you know what? All the goalies we coach now, they're like, Quinn, did you tuck? I didn't know tucking was a thing.
You don't tuck?
No.
Oh, you're weird.
It looks fine, but I wish I would have.
I thought you did because you can't tell.
Thank you.
At least that's the case. Because okay, so tucking.
I'm glad no one could tell.
Tucking is when you put your chest protector inside your breezers and you tie it. Mm-hmm. And some goalies don't do that, which usually makes it look like they have like a little pot belly.
Yeah.
But that's like not the case for you.
Clearly I didn't look like that, but I wish I would have. I was like, why are you guys wearing suspenders, I was like, my breezers are tight because I like my gear as tight as possible. So I would have loved to learn the tuck.
Yeah, you would have liked it. It like feels very secure.
Yeah, I did it during a Fortis skate earlier this summer, and I was like, wow, I should have been doing this past 7 years of my life.
Wait, that's insane.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good style. Like if you talk.
And I'm always all about the style.
No, you're all about the style.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. That's really off-brand, but whatever. I guess I'll overlook that. You can still live with me.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into your career in college, you obviously committed to Ohio when you were in high school. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you committed?
It was just before my senior year, so I was about 17.
Okay, and why did you choose Ohio?
So, talking about UND folding, Peter Erlander was at UND, a coach there, and he actually went to Ohio State to start, assistant coaching with them or associate coaching. And he was the one I kind of connected with. And, talking about like stars aligning and everything kind of working out for the best. So that's kind of how I got introduced to Ohio State and, went on my official visit and fell in love. And I don't think I really understood, the type of school I was committing to yet. Not many people do. You just kind of, oh, yeah, like they're good at hockey. They have good school. Looks like a nice place to live, Like there's not much else to it. In my case, I wasn't a huge college football fan yet by any means or didn't really pay attention. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And then, on my official visit, I looked around and there was over 100,000 people at the football game. I was like, wow, I think this might be the most people I've seen in my life at one place, but this looks like great.
Wait, that's so fun because Ohio is such a big school.
Yes.
And then you spent 5 years at Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just talk to me a little bit about your career there?
Yeah, so freshman year, was there the whole summer, training and, meeting the staff, training with our strength coach, meeting our freshman class. We had quite a big class. And then just kind of really getting used to campus. So I always recommend, like, if you're thinking about going, if you can go your freshman year summer before, definitely do, because definitely, like, gets you on your feet and you know a lot more, and you're prepared for the year. So went home before the fall semester started and ended up, being in the hospital, ICU for 6 days. I found out I had a blood clot. It was called DVT, deep vein thrombosis, and, kind of getting treated for that. Missed the first few days of school, and I was told I was never going to play hockey again, which, as a 18, 19-year-old, that's, traumatizing to hear. Or it just was like, yeah, no, like, that's not going to happen. Like, we're going to do anything we can to not let that happen. So thankfully, like, after a few more conversations with my doctors, became very clear, like, okay, like, we can kind of work with this. But unfortunately, like, you do have to take blood thinners. It's supposed to be for 6 months after a blood clot. And, it was pretty serious. Some went into my lungs, could have gone into my heart. But I didn't really understand it at the time. I was just like, when can I get back, like, to Ohio State? Like, you got to get me back there. Like, I'm missing school right now. And I think it never really occurred to me how life-threatening it was until looking back on it. So that was definitely a very interesting start to my college career. I ended up not being able to practice with the team for 3 months. And just kind of worked with my athletic trainer and my strength coach. They, like, became my best friends. Super thankful to them. I think I gave them, like, a gift after the year. I was like, thank you so much for putting up with me. Because I think I asked him, like, every day, like, can we go take some shots? Like, I need pucks shot at me, please. And he's like, best I can do is tennis balls. I was like, you're killing me. Because, doctors hear blood thinners in hockey and they freak out. Rightfully so. But I was like, just shoot at my glove. I'll keep it here and I'll catch it. Like, it's not hitting me. So I think, like, that was definitely a learning curve. Thankfully, at my 3-month check-in, they're like, okay, you don't need to be on blood thinners anymore because there's going to be another 6 months. So I got to be, back with the team. And I think when you're new and injured, it just, like, sucks,
Oh, yeah. I can't imagine. I did not know that. That is
So
That
talk
is
about a
crazy.
good start, hot start.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, thankfully my teammates were awesome and super supportive, and the staff there is great. So made it through my freshman year, but it was definitely an interesting one. But yeah, it was cool to kind of see Ohio State really start to climb the ranks my freshman year. I think that was kind of, the start where we started to be consistently ranked and started to, finish well and do well. So we'd upset big teams, and, people began not wanting to play us or noticed like when we were on their schedule. So.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that you got to be a part of growing a program and how exciting that is, because that's exactly what happened like over your 5 years at Ohio. And every year you guys just consistently were better. Yeah. And then you all of a sudden were top 3 all the time. Yeah. Not just in the WCHA, but nationally. Yeah. And obviously that shows by how much you guys were winning when you were there. Can you talk about your experience just like on those teams and just how it felt to grow from being, maybe somebody that was a team that was kind of looked over to a team that was like top end?
Yeah, I think either my freshman or my sophomore year, we got ranked 5, and it was like highest ever. And we were like, oh, like that's cool. So it was really special to kind of, be there as it grew better. And I think, it came from every single one of us buying into Coach Muzzie's plan. And, a lot of credit to her. She really grew that program from nothing and from the ground up. And she came in, and they hadn't had a consistent head coach in a while. And she really turned that place around and got everyone to buy in and, formed a family and really, really, really put Ohio State on the map for women's hockey, which is cool because, even being there, people would be like, we have a women's hockey team? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, are you guys like the club team? And we're like, no. It's just crazy. But hockey isn't huge in Ohio. Oftentimes we're like, oh, we're on the hockey team. They're like, field hockey? We're like, ice hockey. So I got to start to say ice hockey all the time, which growing up in Minnesota, you don't have to say that ever. So it's just kind of cool to really see the growth from, that freshman, sophomore year to the end towards national championships and, always being ranked very high. And now it's expected of Ohio State and that team. So.
What do you think was different about those teams, those national championship teams that like made them so good?
I think the work ethic at Ohio State is just top tier. Everyone buys in. It's a really hard program, and everyone I think knows that. But like you're kind of in the you're kind of in the trenches with your girls, but you're looking left to right, as Muzzie always says, and, like you're going to get through it together. We always kind of had some Navy SEALs come in and talk and just really, like, motivate us. So I think, just between the extra skating, the extra lifting, all the extra work, we would do mind tests and different exercises there. We'd have film every single day, which I think, like, I didn't know that other programs didn't do that. I didn't know anything else because this was always what I had experienced, just from the start of college. So I think, like, everything they do there has a purpose and is to strive towards, getting better every single day. And really, like, you have to buy into the plan, and usually towards the end of the year, you begin to see those results of, all the extra skating towards the end of a game, or if you go into overtime, maybe you're in an overtime game that you shouldn't be in that game because you're not the better team, but you're going to outwork them. So I think as that plan kind of continued to work, then we kind of got, better girls, better recruits, and, the whole thing kind of came together.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you spent 5 years at Ohio. You won 2 national championships.
Yep.
And then why did you decide to enter the transfer portal after that?
Yeah, so my 5th year, super kind of weird injury. I think it was, the second week of 20-hour weeks, which is when you really started to get into practice in August and September. And, one of my teammates fell on me when I was in my butterfly position, and my MCL, I had a tear in it. And I kind of had the option to either sit out 6 weeks and let it heal completely, or, just keep kind of going on it. Pain is tolerated and pushing through. And I was like, it's my last year. Like, I'm going to push through. Like, we have some good matchups coming up. I want to, push through. And I'm never really the one to be like, oh, I'm hurt. Like, let me sit out. So I think, again, towards December of that year, I actually tore it again. And that's kind of when it was like, well, now we need to sit out the 6 weeks, which, kind of got you towards the end of the year. And I was just like really, really trying to rehab it and everything. But it just kind of lingered, and I didn't want the issue the rest of my life either. So I just kind of thought like, oh, that's the end. And unfortunately, didn't really rehab it until, the end of the year was already over. Wasn't feeling great about it until, March, and we were into playoffs. So just tried to like be a supportive teammate the whole time, and just, really recognize that, hey, like maybe this is how it's supposed to end, whatever. But actually after the season, talking with my athletic trainer, he was like, I think like you could apply and get the year back. So that's what I did, and didn't know how long it would take and if it was something that like would get approved. And then looking at me, I was like, who does 6 years of college? Like, why would I even want to do another year? But it came back and it was approved. So yeah, I had another year of eligibility. Basically like counted as like a medical red shirt during my extra COVID year. So then I kind of really had to take a step back, and I was like, do I really want to, do another year? Is a 6th year kind of worth it? So I really took that and thought about it. It wasn't a decision that I really had to make quick and felt pressured to. So that was nice, and I really just like, had a lot of conversations with my friends and my family and teammates and stuff. So
yeah. Wow. And then when you entered the transfer portal, why did you choose to go to Wisconsin?
I think, this was also a decision that, I took about a month and a half to decide where I wanted to go. And, talking with my coaches, and I was just like, I think it is right that I enter the portal. I've been here for 5 years, and, they obviously didn't know I would get an extra year, so they had another goalie coming in. And I think like we both kind of agreed that the portal was the right move. So I didn't really know how it would work. We had some transfers come in, but yeah, I had no idea how it would work, and put my name in, and I get an email like a few minutes later. I'm like, whoa, okay, I guess we're starting. So yeah, just kind of took some conversations with a few different programs, and even contemplated some visits, and just really like took my time and thought it through. And yeah, Wisconsin reached out, and I was just kind of thinking about, staying in the WCHA would be really nice to just, continue to play close to home. And I had been away since I was 14, if you count high school too. So I think, that was kind of a major decision, is just coming closer to home so I can, have my family support. And, they tried to make as many games as I could, but, Ohio is pretty East Coast. Like if you look at it on a map, it is kind of considered the Midwest, but you're 8 hours from New York City. So I think, just kind of coming closer to home and looking at their master's programs and really trying to set myself up for success was kind of like the ultimate goal.
Yeah. I will say, like, transferring from one WCHA school to another WCHA school, I did the same thing. Mm-hmm. It was nice because the schedule is very familiar.
Yeah.
And yes, you still have to get used to all new people and all new coaching staff and a whole new place, but you've been there before. Mm-hmm. And you still have the same structure. You're playing the same team for 2 games a weekend. Like if you would go out east, you play, you might play Colgate, and the next day you play Cornell. It's just different.
I always found that so weird.
I know, and very confusing. How do you do video all week for double teams?
Yeah, because we would always prepare the entire week for the same team, the same power play, penalty kill, and then you'd have one day, or you'd have to
you have a night.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Or
so
don't they do home and away too?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah. I had some friends, out east, and I was like, wait, what?
But I guess if that's all you've ever known, it makes sense. Like you get to college and that's just how it is. It makes sense. But I could see how transferring, from a WCHA school to a school over there, it would be a lot of change.
Yeah, or like weekday games. We never really had to deal with that. It was always leave Thursday, come back Saturday, or sometimes a Sunday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was definitely nice to have the same routine for sure.
Yeah. And then when you went to Wisconsin, you obviously played for such a storied head coach and, a huge program in women's hockey. How was it kind of getting to know everyone when you first got there?
Yeah, so thankfully, hockey is a small world, and you always do have a few connections. So the school I actually went out east in high school is where I met KK, Caroline Harvey, and Layla Edwards. And so it was cool to kind of connect with them again after, seeing them at random tournaments. But, being on the same team again was really special. And then actually in Warroad, I graduated with Katie Kotlowski in our senior year, and she had always wanted to go to Wisconsin and was at Wisconsin and actually got a 6th year as well, which is crazy because, not a lot of people get 6 years, and now we were taking ours together on the same team again, which was, a really special and full circle moment. So it was cool. We got to be teammates again, and then a lot of the Ohio State, Wisconsin girls are friends. So Casey O'Brien and Marianne Picard actually came out to visit Mac Webb in Columbus. So I met a few of them before actually transferring and getting to Madison. So it was nice to have those connections established before, getting into the team. And I didn't want to, get there and tread on anyone's toes or, try and do too much. So I was just like, hey, this is awesome. I already have, some connections, some friends. They can kind of show me around, and that really helped.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think transferring in as a goalie is a little bit different than transferring in as, just one of how many forwards on a team?
Yeah, definitely. I think, our position is so special and so unique, and I think it is hard because only one goalie ever plays, so there can be some animosity, but there wasn't, and really supportive group of girls. And I think just adding an extra forward or an extra D isn't that big of a deal, but yeah, if you need a goalie, there's going to be only one person to fill that spot. So yeah, I think just kind of, getting to know the girls really helped.
Mm-hmm. And you were obviously used to championship expectations. You went from one program that was winning national championships to another program where you won a national championship. Besides, having that playoff push and doing so well that whole year, what was your favorite Badger memory?
Favorite Badger memory? I think, looking back at college hockey, a lot of the times I just really remember, the bus trips, spending extra time in the rink, Laban, or I think it's cool they have this tradition where the student section stacks all the beer cans up in a pyramid, and player of the game runs in and knocks it over on the glass. So I think that was kind of my first Badger memory, was when they're like, Quinn, go, go. And so you have to skate over there, and everyone's watching you and videoing you. And, it's hard to knock them over because you have to jump into the glass. So I really gave it my all, and I jumped into the glass, and I bounced off and then, like, kind of fell. But that's okay. I think it looked really cool.
Wait, that's so funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a super neat tradition, and I love it. The student section there is always pretty rowdy. So.
Oh my gosh, they're so rowdy. I actually love that about LeBon. And people will wait outside of LeBon.
Oh yes.
For like way before the game, and as soon as the doors open, people will come in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember like even warming up to play an away game there. They the workers were kind of like, "Hey, like we're going to let people in soon, and we're just doing our stretches." And we're like, "Let people in?" There's people waiting to get in. Like, we're like, what is going on? So that was funny. And then, like you'd walk in your game day outfit and you'd see a line just already formed at the door. And you're like, hey, just like, they're like, good luck today. Thanks.
It's so cute. It's crazy. How is that? I mean, it's such a difference from playing, at Ohio State's rink to playing at LeBon. Like, was it just crazy every home game to see all those people there to watch you guys?
So I think each place has a very good home rink advantage. Ohio State, like you ask anyone who played there, we love that rink. Like we love how loud and rowdy it gets, and it's very hard to be an opposing team there because of how loud it is. It gets packed. If we have the band there, we love the band. Like we love when the band comes to the games, and it's loud. I don't know. It's just like special to us. Yes, you have to walk outside and walk up these stairs, and I won't say anything else, but like it was special to us, and we owned it and loved it, and like used it to our advantage. Like a lot of people would try and flick the puck up, and it would hit the ceiling because it's really low ceiling. We're like, can't do that here. Sorry, try anything. So it's definitely an advantage there, and then. On the other side of the spectrum, LeBon is, huge, and it's an Olympic-sized rink, so, like, we definitely knew how to use that to our advantage. It gets packed. It's loud. There's definitely some heckling with the crowd, which is awesome. I think both are special in their own way, and, it's hard to be a visiting team at either one.
Oh, my gosh. It's so hard to be a visiting team at Ohio State.
Yeah.
The locker room, the visitor locker room is in the basement, everyone. So you have to walk up the stairs.
There are stairs.
After you get 35 shots in one period, you walk up those stairs. I can tell you one thing, you are freaking dying.
But like, if it makes you feel better, we have stairs too, though.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Our locker room at Ohio State is outside, so we walk outside every period, every warm-up, whatever. We go down the same stairs. So there's stairs, but we do it every day, so maybe we're more accustomed to it.
Yeah, maybe.
But there are stairs for Ohio State.
I will say the rink fits Ohio State's vibes. Like they're just grinders.
Thanks, I think.
Like that's what we would all talk about. We're like, if they got a new rink, I feel like it would be just like kind of odd because it just like fits what they stand for almost. Like you just grind, you work super hard, and you're like a very strict program, and that's just what it's known for.
Yeah. Like there's the running joke is that they've been talking about getting a new rink since you committed your sophomore year. So it is in the works, but yeah, I think, once they get that new rink, it'll definitely be kind of sad, I think. Personally, I think it would be kind of sad, but obviously they do need a new one. But like the location is super special too, and there's nowhere new that they can build that new rink that the location would be just as good.
Yeah,
you can see the football stadium, so a lot of the times we would get extra people as the football game ended. They would come to our games, which was cool, and then they actually started selling out very quickly as, we continued to get better over the years. So it's been cool to see that. Like maybe my freshman year, there was a few families in the crowd and that was it. And now like they started making tickets and selling out, which is cool. So Yeah, I think the rink is special. They definitely need a new one, and there are plans, and hopefully it will be coming. But
Yeah, and I've heard of the plans for quite some time as well.
yeah, but at the same time, we never really wanted to play in the shot, like the men's rink, because it's too big. Same thing with going to Mankato or Duluth or some of those places where you're playing in the men's rink or the basketball arena. It's like too big, super quiet, not a good atmosphere.
I agree. I think we would go and watch sometimes, like when Ohio would have a doubleheader when we were there, and we went over and watched the Gopher men play the Ohio State once, and we were like, this place is huge.
Yeah, like
this makes sense why they don't play over here. It'd be like us, at the U playing at Mariucci.
Yeah,
it would feel so quiet, and you'd much rather be in a smaller rink than that.
Yeah,
but just looking at your career as a whole, do you think you'd consider yourself a Buckeye or a Badger first?
I get the question pretty much every week. Which one did you like better? Which one's better? And honestly, I think it's just a disservice to answer that question. And I kind of like, well, that's a long answer. And I think it would be disrespectful to both to kind of, really answer that or just kind of pick one, because I loved both for very different reasons. And, I was surprised how much I really enjoyed both. So I think I'm just super blessed to have, both of those experiences. And I just consider myself an alumni of both, and just very grateful to have both of the, experiences, championships, and friends that I do.
Yeah. And you graduated from both Ohio twice, right?
Yes.
So technically you are alumni of both programs.
I have 3 degrees, 2 from Ohio, 1 from Wisconsin, 2 master's degrees. I don't care what you guys say. I'm an alumni.
What are your degrees?
Oh, boy. So you're going to try and connect the dots on all of these? Don't. So I was health sciences pre-med undergrad, got that in 23. I went in to get my master's of kinesiology sports management, and really loved that in 24. And then at Wisconsin, went and looked at, all the master's programs and saw the real estate masters. And I didn't know this, but they're top 5 in the world for real estate program, which is great. So I got my master's in real estate commercial development, which I ended up really loving and, eventually want to go into a career of. And then, it was nice to have really a great program and friends in that program. I had the option to just do an online 1-year master's program similar to kind of what I had done, theme-wise. I think it was called sport coaching or something at Wisconsin. I was like, I kind of want to have in-person classes, see the campus, meet some people outside of hockey, and not just be online and not really, get the Wisconsin experience. And I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah, that's so cool. And, some ladies, it just takes us a little longer to realize what we want to do.
Yes. I mean, we have so many options. What can't we do? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it was cool to really develop what I wanted to do. I think I always want to work in sports. So thankfully, part of, that sports management master's program, we have to do a 400-hour internship. And I did that with the Ohio State Athletic Media Department, digital media, and just fell in love with that. And I was like, I can't believe they're paying me to take pictures on the field at the football games or at the basketball games, soccer games, make videos. And it was already stuff I enjoyed doing. I was like, I didn't realize, this could be a job. This doesn't feel like work to me. So it's cool to kind of find that outlet. And now I work with Big Ten Network. So now I can work with kind of all the Big Ten schools. So that really, led me to that path. And then at Wisconsin, I actually really wanted to go into the architecture school when I was a freshman. and it just wasn't an option with the hockey schedule. I think the design labs were Wednesday, Friday, and they're like, you can miss 1 or 2 Fridays. And we're like, well, we play every single Friday. So I could either have 3 years of school left when I graduated, or I could pick something else. So I kind of got, my fix and was able to go into the master's program with real estate. And, I had always loved my dad's job. So now I kind of can work with him, which is cool.
That's really cool. And to just be able to better understand and talk to him. And I'm sure he helps you a lot with that as well.
Yeah. Well, so I was an Excel girly. We were doing 10-year models, Excel. I was deep in formulas, everything. And, sometimes I would throw out a feeler for my dad. And he's like, you know what that is? I'm like, yeah.
He's impressed.
Yes. He's like, wow, that's great. So maybe you can work with him on a project eventually. But yeah, I learned so much. And it was kind of crazy to go from, a master's program that was a lot of experience and hands-on internship-wise and not a lot of school assignments versus pages and pages of Excel spreadsheets and tests and models and everything. So definitely a switch up, but we got through it and really happy.
And then you mentioned your work with Big Ten Network. You also coach.
Yes.
Yes. What teams do you coach right now?
So right now I'm with Bloomington Jefferson boys varsity, which has been really cool. We've had a great start to the year. I'm actually going to a game after this, so go Jags. And then I'm also with Blake Girls High School, and they're obviously having a really good year as well. Worked with one of their goalies a lot in the summer, so it's been cool to kind of see her development, and she's going off to college next year, so just trying to be that person for her, any questions she has, and just trying to support all my goalies as best as I can. And it's cool because I really remember a lot of my coaches growing up, and I didn't have one every day at high school, so it's super valuable, and it's great that I can kind of be there for them and support them and help them any way I can.
Yeah. I think it's so cool that you coach a boys high school team, especially this is your first year out of college, so I think it's cool that in Minnesota people are starting to realize that it doesn't matter if you're male or female, if you can do the job and if you have the knowledge, you can do the job. And so I think that's just incredible. You have 3 boy goalies there?
Yes, and then I also help out with the JV, so 5 total, but yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. How often do you normally do that?
So I'm at Blake once or twice a week, depending on their games and stuff, and then Jefferson, I usually am there 2 to 3 times a week, so pretty much every day coaching someone.
Yeah, what do you try to focus on with your goalies?
I think at the beginning it's just kind of building that relationship, seeing, their main kind of things we can improve on. And then I think, going over film with them is super special. And, I heard in the past years their goalie coach didn't really, come up with drills for them or, have them during practice. It was just more of, at the games and stuff. So I think that's super valuable, is just coming up with drills and tweaking things and, asking questions and seeing. I was like, what do you guys want to work on today? I can think of a drill, just give me a topic. And they're like, wow, that drill was great. I was like, really? Thanks. That's awesome. You guys like it. So yeah, it's been cool. And I don't care if you're a girl goalie or a guy goalie, if you're 18 or 7, I just, really like coaching. And I think it's a good way to give back to the sport.
And you obviously played, we've talked so much about, for so many programs that have done so well from high school to all the way through college. Do you think that gives you kind of a special skill set? You've played for teams that are obviously very close. Mm-hmm. What do you think is your advice, to those goalies on, being a part of a team and being a part of, a core goalie group?
Yeah.
Even if maybe you're not the one that's getting all the starts.
Yeah, I think, in high school, I think a lot of the times you're always the best player on the team or one of the best. So obviously going into college is tough, especially with the freshman year I had. But, I've always kind of strived towards being a good teammate and just kind of like, really embracing the position you're in. And like, I would never want someone to look back and just be like, oh, she was negative and just really brought the team down. It's like, what's the point of that? Just be a good teammate, be supportive of people, and good things will hopefully come your way, especially if you work hard. So I think, just trying to, embrace the position you're in and doing everything you can to just kind of keep working. Because, yeah, I've been a starter. I've been scratched. I've been, the second backup, the third backup. So a lot of different positions, especially in college hockey, things can change just like that. So just always being ready because, if your moment comes and you're not ready, that's on you. But just like always be prepared. Even, if you're not the goalie in net, warm up like you're going in net. Because, the other goalie could get hurt in warm-ups or 5 minutes into the period, and now it's on you. And you got to, like, flip that switch. So I think it is a very mental position. But, there's also a lot of people around you can lean on. And, yeah, just really creating relationships with your goalie partners is huge. In high school I didn't really have, like, a lot of goalie partners that were, like, my friends necessarily. So I think, just, like, getting to college and creating that was super special and cool. And I think, yeah, just, if you're a younger goalie and, maybe you're not getting the minutes, like, there's always room for improvement. There's always, opportunities for you to show up for your teammates in other ways, and just always be ready for that.
Yeah, I love that. Like, you can make an impact no matter your role.
Yeah.
So why not just do the role to the best of your ability?
Yeah, exactly. Like, not a lot of people say the hockey is what they remember of their college athletic experience or their sport. Like, it's, the relationships, the people, and all the memories you form outside of it. So,
yeah, people always say that. I love that. They'll be like, you won't remember the game, you won't remember the score, but you might remember the 3 national championships.
Well, I did lose 3 state championships, if it makes you guys feel better. So
I don't know. I lost a state championship too, so I don't know if that makes me feel better. Well, thank you so much, Quinn, for being here. I really appreciate it, and I love you so very much. So thank you.
Thanks for keeping it super professional.
We got so much good content. I asked Quinn so many questions I already knew the answer to, but make sure you guys follow Quinn's journey and all her social channels. Where can they find you?
You can find me at Quinn Kuntz for everything.
Perfect. Makes it easy for everyone. But okay, Quinn, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, girl. Love you.
Yes.
Signing off.